First of all, I really love the stage for tonight's episode of NXT. I really love it when the show has a completely unique stage, and I'm not talking about like the setup and everything, not like the old SmackDown fist that people keep dreaming about. I'm talking like physically around the ring, like unique stage. You know, when the ramp perfectly lines up with the ring. I really love that, especially tonight's. I know it's not practical for every single week. That would be absolutely horrible, but I loved how unique it was. I felt it brought a cool vibe to the show. I really liked it. I kind of wish they utilized it more. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual show, which I also really enjoyed tonight. The show opened with the backstage brawl between Yoshiki and Namora and Josh Briggs. They were supposed to go to the ring, but the show just opened with them brawling backstage. That did eventually lead to the ring into what was an absolutely amazing opening match. I really loved it. Definitely go check this match out. Once again, I have fully bought into Inamura, which was why I was super surprised when he lost tonight, because I was super sure he was going to win. I was not expecting Briggs to win this. Now, it's probably not the end of the feud, and I can see why they kind of did this to extend the feud, but hell, I was certain Inamura was going to win, so it was a shock to me. But hey, big ups to Briggs. It seems like they're really pushing him, and I'm still not completely invested in him. I still think there's something missing. But hey, it took me a while to invest in Inamura, and I'm fully invested in him now, so maybe they're gonna get there with Briggs for me. But yeah, for now I'm still not getting it, but I can see a bit of something there. The next matchup was Jasper Troy versus Ricky Saints, and you all know I love Jasper Troy, but we all also knew that he was not gonna beat Ricky Saints here. Now, it was a good match, and I think the little feud being over now is fine, but I do have a question on where both men go next. So it is possible Ricky Saints goes right back after Ethan Page, but I honestly don't see that because Ethan Page is quite on a different level than Ricky Saints. I don't know if I've said this, but ever since Ricky Saints has arrived, I think he's kind of been in the same category as Jordynne Grace, where they aren't as exciting as they were initially expected to be. For Jasper Troy, he can go on and do anything. I think he needs to be in a feud that gives him a major win, so I think they should probably go in that direction. But yeah, he's still new. He can pretty much do anything. We're still establishing the guy. For Ricky Saints, I don't know, because I don't feel like he's on the level of guys like Trick Williams, Obafemi, Javon Evans, Ethan Page. I can't put him in that same category because I don't feel like he's there. He feels on a level below them, which kind of sucks because he was debuted and promoted as this big up and coming face, and even in AEW I kind of felt like we're getting there, but I think since arriving here we've kind of seen that he's not there yet, which I think he can get there. He has a lot of charisma, he has something. It's just, I think, similar to Jordynne Grace, like I mentioned before, it's going to be a while before he put it together. And I think it's probably a good thing he got put on NXT. I know a lot of people said he should go straight to the main roster. Similar to Jordynne Grace, I think they would have been absolutely demolished on the main roster. It's a good thing they're on NXT. But since we're talking about Jordynne Grace, let's get her segment out of the way too. She has a face-to-face with Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe comes out, shows her a contract, and says that if Jordynne Grace touches her before Heatwave, the match is off. And Jordynne Grace says, sure, I don't have to touch her, and then she just demolishes her 3 security guards. Not sure how many, but she demolishes all the male security guards there. You know, they should really start having female security guards for the women. Like, I know it's cool seeing Jordynne Grace like suplex a bunch of guys. It's a cool visual. I think we should just have some women security guards. I don't know why I thought of that. I just think like, yeah, you know, we have women's referees, like we have women interviews. Might as well have women's referees. Hell, let's actually start getting back women's commentators. Let's just have more women on the show. Anyways, let's get back to this segment. Blake Monroe is left shocked. Jordynne Grace grabs her wrist, doesn't attack her, but tells her that at Heatwave she's gonna see what ugly looks like. And I'm quite excited for this match. I don't think Jordynne Grace should win. I definitely think Blake Monroe should win. Again, Blake Monroe has completely outshunned Jordynne Grace so far. And I really do hope Blake Monroe wins and goes after the NXT Women's Championship or North American Championship. Doesn't matter. I think she should have a belt. She's like the absolute star on this show. Except Kalani Jordan. We all know Kalani Jordan is a million times better. That goes without saying. And yeah, we should really start getting a manager for Jordynne Grace. Like, she's fine as a promo, but I think she would really benefit from having a manager to bounce off of. Like, she doesn't have to be the silent beast, but having like a William Regal to talk for her, and then she can bounce off of William Regal, I think it will make her a whole lot more entertaining, because in the ring she's fine, but you know, her character work isn't there yet. Like I said, similar to Ricky Saints, you know, just needs something to put it together. I think a manager could be a very good starting point for her. Again, I think William Regal would be someone pretty cool for her. How he ties into it, I don't know. I just was thinking of William Regal. That's honestly it. So let's start getting into what happened before the 3-on-3 match between Fatal Influence and the Elegance brand. Earlier in the night, Masha Slamovich called both Santino and Ava and asked if she could be the special guest referee for this match because she's going to be in the triple threat match with JC Jane and Ash by Elegance on Heatwave. The both managers agreed to make it happen, so that was cool. I think it plays nicely into the story going into Heatwave. Then later on, backstage, the By Elegance brand confronted Ava in her office and they were not happy with this decision at all. But hey, Ava's the manager here, they can't do shit. So what happens, happens. Then we also catch up backstage with Fatal Influence who are preparing for their match, and they find it hilarious that the By Elegance brand thinks they're the most dominant women's faction in all of women's wrestling, because honestly they're unfair. Which is when Lainey Reed comes up and she talks to JC Jane specifically, hypes her up for a match and says she knows she'll be victorious. Honestly, ever since Lainey Reed's debuted, I've loved what we've done to her. She's been a quite complex character, and I'm really curious where this whole JC Jane Lainey Reed thing is going, especially with the constant teases of Fatal Influence breaking up. I really love it, and honestly I really don't know where it's going because I can see it going so many different directions, but I don't think either direction I have in my mind is the one that they're going with, which makes it so exciting because I truly don't know what the whole Lainey Reed JC Jane thing is. Now in the actual match, it's a pretty good match, really good action. I'm surprised how over JC Jane is, but I'm very happy with it because I really love JC Jane. Ever since she's won the Women's World Championship, she's really won me over too, and I think her reign's been very great. I know a lot of people don't feel like it, but I've really loved her reign. And you know, Fatal Influence ends up winning because Masha Slamovich gets distracted by what's happening outside, which means Ash by Elegance, who technically had the 3 count, didn't get it because Masha only started counting late. And then Ash and Masha started arguing, which allowed JC Jane to hit Ash by Elegance with her finisher and pick up the victory. I love how this continues the story that's been going on in TNA. Well, it's not technically a story, but it's been an underlying theme that TNA isn't able to get along, so they aren't able to get their belts back. And I loved how we progressed that here. It's been one of the more interesting things for TNA, for me at least. God bless that show, please get better. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match, and when it comes to Heatwave, I really don't think JC Jane's gonna lose. I can't see her losing either of her belts on Heatwave, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for me because the Knockouts Championship is probably gonna change hands similar to the TNA World Championship at Bound for Glory. It makes the most sense, and she's absolutely not gonna drop the the NXT Women's Championship on Heatwave to either one of the TNA girls. So it just, you know, don't see her losing. So, but hey, who knows what might happen? You know, who knows? Goddamn, Jasmine Ninks though, like, damn, get her on my screen more, damn. Well, we go backstage where Charlie Dempsey is talking to Kendall Gray, trying to give her some advice, trying to coach her a bit. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Kendall Gray join the NQCC. She feels like that perfect fit. It just feels like she's right for that faction. But Ren Sinclair walks up to her, apologizes to Kendall about how Charlie is acting. But Kendall, what the fuck? That's when the Culling walks up to the group and they like mock them for how they have no friends left. And Charlie Dempsey challenges Sean Spears and Nico to a match next week, I believe. Yeah, next week. And when Ren Sinclair is kind of confused because Charlie doesn't have a partner. So I'm interested in who's Charlie's partner is going to be. I would really love if they started to rebuild the NQCC. I feel like this could be a good faction where people just continuously join and leave, and I think the story would never stop being entertaining, and it's just a constant rotating list of members. But then again, we saw how that worked out for Chase U, and it's not going good. The next segment is the peace treaty between the USA and Canada. Canada obviously being represented by the North American champion Ethan Page, Chelsea Green and her Secret Hervis. And then, you know, USA is presented by Tavion Knights and Tyra May Steele. And I feel so bad for Tyra May Steele and Tavion Knights because they were expected to go into a promo battle against Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. Like, yeah, you kind of fucked them. You kind of set them up for absolute failure. A really entertaining segment though, and I love the ending where Tavion Knights and Tyra May Steele both locked up Ethan Page and Chelsea Green in a submission. The Secret Hervis pull Chelsea Green out, and then they for a moment forget about Ethan Page, but then go back to pull Ethan Page out too, and leaves USA standing tall. You know, we all know what this means, right? They're probably gonna end up losing, which is fine. Ethan Page and Chelsea Green should not lose to Tavion Knights and Tyra May Steele, but I think just Tavion Knights and Tyra May Steele having a major pay-per-view match against the likes of them, that's big on its own for them. And I really hope we keep Tyra May Steele on NXT after this. I have enjoyed her on Evolve. I should really start making Evolve videos. I've promised it for ages now. I'm gonna get there, I promise. And I really liked her on Evolve, but I think she needs to stay on NXT because she still has that contract for an NXT Women's title shot that we haven't followed up on. Like, that's the whole reason, you know, you win LFG. That's how Jasper Troy came in. Or maybe I'm just confusing it. Maybe they only get like a contract. Maybe I'm just, messing it up, but I do believe she has that, right? But yeah, I just hope she stays on NXT. Like, what's the point of winning LFG if you're going to be sent to Evolve? Then, right? The whole thing is you get an NXT contract shot. Let her stay on NXT. Unless she's not ready, then she shouldn't have won LFG at all. And our last backstage segment is Darkstate approaching Ava in her office. They still refuse to say which two of them are gonna face the Hank and Tank for the tag team championships at Heatwave, and they also say that, they should deserve more respect, because after last week nobody was talking about Nia Jax or Lash Legend and Joe Hendry. They were talking about Darkstate, which is when Joe Hendry randomly pops out of a locker room. Honestly, I was confused about it the last few weeks. I wasn't sure about it, but I'm really loving the people just randomly mentioning Joe Hendry, him popping out. And I wonder how this is going to turn into a match. I mean, he's probably going to cost Darkstate the match at Heatwave, and then that's going to lead into a feud with some of them, or whatever. I don't know where it's leading. I just found it really funny that Joe Hendry just popped out. I still hope we give him more than just a comedic role though, because I think he has potential in that area. And then in the main event, it was Trick Williams versus Javon Evans for the #1 contention match. Who's gonna face Obafemi at Heatwave? And surprisingly, Javon Evans wins. He was distracted. Well, he had the match basically locked down when Santana appeared out of the crowd, and that distracted Trick Williams, allowed Javon Evans to pick up the victory. So he's gonna face Obafemi at Heatwave. And I'm not gonna talk about TNA stuff, not gonna talk about Santana and Trick Williams. I have a feeling we're gonna follow up with that on TNA, so I'm leaving that for my TNA video coming later this week. You guys should watch that. So Javon Evans versus Obafemi. I can't see Javon Evans winning, right? It feels like there isn't enough of a build to change hands for the titles yet, but that might be what makes it special. Like, imagine Javon Evans wins the championship this Sunday, right? Like, he actually overcomes the odds. He defeats Obafemi after he had this brutal match this week. That would be a great story. But I feel like the story they're going for is Javon Evans is gonna lose, and then he's gonna have this whole excuse of, right, he had to face Trick Williams this week and then go straight into a match with Obafemi, no R&R. So that's gonna build to their second match where Javon Evans will finally overcome Obafemi. I feel like that could be a great storyline. But again, I'm not sure. I can see it going either ways. Overall, it's a one-on-one Javon Evans versus Obafemi match. To me personally, that's the biggest match you can make on NXT right now. Because if you guys know anything, you guys know these are my ultimate favorites right now, at least for the men's division. So it's gonna be a banger of a match. And that was NXT for you tonight. Honestly, it was a great show. It was a solid 10 out of 10. Again, you guys know, for me a 10 out of 10 is when I just sat down and enjoyed the show. The only thing I can kind of complain about is there was not enough women on this show. And women's wrestling is my favorite part. I said that earlier in the video, sounding like a broken record, but I really do love it. And I feel like NXT's brightest spot is its women's division. So I kind of wish, we had more, but I understand why not. So it's fine. We're going to have a bunch of women's matches on Heatwave. So, I'm not going to delve too deep into that. I really enjoyed the show. I think it was a great show. 10 out of 10. Would recommend it to you. So yeah, if you really like this video, please leave a like, subscribe. We're literally 5 subscribers away from 600. That would mean so much to me. So let's please get there. And then yeah, I'm gonna cover TNA and NXT weekly. Heatwave's gonna be covered, and I swear, I promise this week a video about Evolve is coming. I'm gonna cover Evolve this week, and I'm gonna try starting to cover it. I'm really trying to. So yeah, leave a like and subscribe. I hope to see you guys again soon. Goodbye.